in terms of at least we have a few more indicators, but these are the big four for us. Watching Bitcoin to gold, Bitcoin is moving up relative to gold, would suggest that we've held the sort of the higher lows. The trend is up, shall I say? The trend is up over time, and we do believe it is up over time.
30년입니다. 캐시우드는 1990년대 초부터 단 하나의 차트를 지켜봐왔습니다. 미국 기업들이 공장을 돌리고 기계를 사들이고 설비에 돈을 쏟아부을 때마다 그 숫자는 항상 같은 자리에서 멈췄습니다. 호황이 와도 기술이 바뀌어도 금융위기가 터져도 단 한 번의 예외도 없었습니다. 그런데 이번엔 달랐습니다. 그 30년간의 천장을 뚫어냈습니다. 망설임 없이 빠르게, 그리고 거침없이. 캐시우드는 이걸 단순한 경기 사이클로 보지 않습니다. 캐시우드가 말하는 건 규제 완화, AI 붐, 에너지 혁명이 겹치면서 만들어낸 구조적 전환입니다. 인텔, 코닝처럼 한때 한물 같다고 여겨졌던 기업들까지 다시 살아나고 있고, 자본은 이제 AI와 에너지를 넘어 더 넓은 곳으로 확산되고 있습니다. 그리고 그 확산의 최종 목적지로 캐시우드가 지목한 곳이 있습니다. 바로 비트코인입니다. 금속 대 금비율, S&P 대 금비율, 비트코인 대 금비율, 캐시우드가 주시하는 시장 지표들은 전부 같은 방향을 가리키고 있습니다. 그리고 캐시우드는 이 흐름이 이제 막 시작됐다고 말합니다. 지금부터 그 근거를 함께 들어보겠습니다. 영상 시작 전 영상을 시청하실 때에는 편집 시간이 발생해 늦을 수 있습니다. 지금 시장은 속도가 중요합니다. 하단 고정 댓글 보시면 텔레그램 방이 있는데 총 운용자산 121억으로 4명의 전문가가 6년간 70% 승률을 자랑하는 시그니처 매매법을 공유하고 있으며 현재 9,000분 넘게 방에 참여하고 계십니다. 실시간 차트 분석, 매매 시나리오, 시장 이슈, 그리고 투자 심리까지 다양한 인사이트까지 얻어가실 수 있습니다. 영상에서 담지 않는 중요한 이야기 1초라도 빨리 얻어가시길 바라겠습니다.
Now, what's interesting about this chart, and I've watched it really since the early 90s, we peaked at roughly the same level every other cycle. And now we've blown out and are moving rapidly away from that former peak. You know, in the stock market, when you say you've had a big base and it's lasted, in this case, 30, 35 years, the breakout is significant and probably will be sustained, I think, thanks to the deregulation and favorable tax policies here in the United States, as I discussed earlier. Of course, the AI boom and the power boom is behind this, but we're even beginning to see capital spending away from those two spaces moving higher. And in fact, what's been so fascinating is Intel, Corning, Flextronics, you know, these are blasts from the past. And it's basically saying that this AI boom is carrying, you know, the old guard along with it. All hands on deck. Let's do this. So it's fascinating. But look at this. This surprised me. This is manufacturing construction for computer and electronics. And it's into this year. And I said, what the heck? This includes semiconductor manufacturing and other component manufacturing in the United States. It's going down. What's that? It's the CHIPS Act in 2022, which was part of the stimulus that year, as trying to get us out of the COVID crash. And you can see how extended it was. We went from below $20 billion to $120 billion. So that's a six-fold increase. And now we're down to 70. We think this is going to turn around for obvious reasons. The trade deficit, which is the last piece of GDP that we review, we doubt is going to it's going to improve much from here because imports are increasing faster than exports. It doesn't surprise us. We think our relative growth rate is higher than the rest of the world. Here we're into market indicators, and we're beginning to see slow, but that metals to gold ratio in green there, it's trying to turn. Maybe more because gold is falling than metals increasing, but at least we're seeing some stabilization. We are not seeing much of improvement in the 10-year treasury yield. But if growth picks up dramatically and the 10-year treasury yield were to stay around here, that would suggest that the yield curve is going to continue flatten and perhaps invert. And in a recovery, here is the price to gold ratio, it really believes that we're going back into a 70s style environment. And here you can see the S&P fell relative to gold very dramatically. He is focused on our deficit, the government deficit, and our debt level. And I've already told you what we think about that. We disagree with him. We think this is going to reverse, and we think it will go to all-time highs. We've got a little bit of a leading indicator here. Despite the rapid increase in oil prices, this ratio, S&P to oil, is closer to its all-time high. And we like to look at both gold and crude oil, often do a ratio of them. But here with transitive property, you can see we're using the S&P. And it's closer to its high. So we think it also will go to an all-time high because we really do think oil prices, now that the UAE has moved out of OPEC, it's going to open the floodgates. It's been frustrated for years and years. And of course, we have Venezuelan oil gushing out as well. And the U.S., it is stunning. The U.S. Crude oil exports have gone from essentially zero in 2015 to 6 million barrels per day. And our production is at 13 million barrels per day. And this oil price is it's a clarion call for even more production. So we think we're going to see big drops in oil prices in the years ahead. And finally, in terms of at least, we have a few more indicators, but these are the big four for us. Watching Bitcoin to gold. Bitcoin is moving up relative to gold. Would suggest that we've held the higher lows. The trend is up, shall I say. The trend is up over time. And we do believe it is up over time. We would not be surprised to see gold continue to fall, especially if we're right on the dollar, and Bitcoin continue to increase. So, with that, that's good news. I know that the market has been trying for this year, even though the market itself is up. The innovation space has been frustrating. Parts of it have done very well. Anything in space and defense tech has done very well. But anything touching software, even fintech and the payments ecosystems, they have been hurt. And we think there's a lot of confusion. Sell now and ask questions later. So we're expecting, though, as the economy turns around dramatically, as July 4th gets closer, it is our 250-year-old birthday party as a country, and we think there's going to be a lot of optimism around that period. We hope that the administration gets what it wants in terms of the Clarity Act being passed by July 4th. That would be a boon for the crypto asset ecosystem. And we also, of course, hope and pray that the Iran war, whatever it is right now, that it is done and that oil prices are resolving on the downside of expectations, inflation as well, which should drive consumer sentiment higher. We certainly think that the administration is trying to foster this scenario because of the midterm elections. Time is short and takes a long time for perceptions to change, but maybe our birthday party, 250 years old, an independent country, will help the process along this time.
캐시우드가 보여준 차트는 6개입니다. 30년 천장을 뚫은 자본 지출, 6배 폭증 후 조정 중인 반도체 설비 투자, 역대 최악을 찍은 무역 수지, 바닥을 기는 금속 대 금 비율, 역사적 저점 근처의 S&P 대 금 비율, 그리고 고점과 저점이 모두 높아지고 있는 비트코인 대 금 비율, 6개 차트가 전부 하나의 방향을 가리키고 있습니다. 자본이 움직이고 있다. 캐시우드는 2026년 7월 4일을 주목하고 있습니다. 미국 건국 250주년, 클래리티 법안 통과 기대, 유가 하락으로 인한 인플레이션 완화, 중간 선거를 앞둔 정치적 모멘텀, 이 모든 것이 같은 시점에 겹치고 있습니다. 우연이 아닐 수 있습니다. 물론 아직 확정된 건 없습니다. 법안은 아직 통과되지 않았고 금속 대 금 비율의 반전은 아직 확인되지 않았으며 비트코인이 금을 완전히 대체했다는 논제는 여전히 진행 중입니다. 하지만 캐시우드가 30년을 지켜온 차트가 처음으로 천장을 뚫었을 때 시장에서 그걸 알아챈 사람은 많지 않았습니다. 지금 이 영상을 보고 있는 당신은 그 소수 중 한 명일 수 있습니다. 구조가 바뀔 때 자본은 반드시 새로운 곳으로 향합니다. 그리고 그 흐름은 대부분의 사람들이 알아챘을 때는 이미 가격에 반영되어 있습니다. 지금은 아직 그 전입니다. 30년짜리 천장이 뚫렸을 때 아무도 믿지 않았습니다. 비트코인이 처음 등장했을 때도 아무도 믿지 않았습니다. 그리고 지금 그 두 흐름이 같은 방향을 가리키고 있습니다. 오늘 준비한 영상은 여기까지고요. 앞으로의 시장의 변화 궁금하시다면 구독과 좋아요, 하단 고정 댓글 링크에 들어가서 더욱 많은 정보 얻어가시길 바라겠습니다. 지금까지 떡상메들리 한상호였습니다. 감사합니다.